Hello and welcome. Today we are making this card right here, which uses the colors So Saffron, Crumb Cake, and Mossy Meadow. And obviously you can just swap out those colors for any number of colors to get the same kind of look, but with the colors of your choosing. So today I kind of wanted more of a muted and then this kind of dark green here to tie it into more of that woodsy look, and let me show you how to make this. So first, let me show you the stamp sets we're going to use. We are using a background stamp called Birch. It's a cling stamp, and the sentiment I got from this So Sentimental here. There are lots of lovely options, but I used this one right here. I can't thank you enough. And I used that with the Stitched So Sweetly dies right here, where one of the things that's really neat about this one is that it has all of these nice intricate stitched dies, but it also has these sort of scalloped stitched frames as well, which is just a lot of fun and very versatile. So like this guy here nests right on top there. So let me show you how to do that. So for this card, I figured we would swap out the colors. So in our, in our sample, we have the So Saffron ink for the sentiment, a background in Mossy Meadow, and then the card base in So Saffron. So we're going to switch those colors. So we're going to move to having a card base in Mossy Meadow. The layer of crumb cake will still be the same. We're going to have our sentiment mounted on So Saffron, and then we'll ink up in our Mossy Meadow as well. We'll still punch out the little sprig punch here for these guys, and I'll show you a few ideas. I'm actually using a retired product here for these little centers, but I'm going to show you a few ideas that are current in the catalog that you might want to do as well. So let's get started. So the first things first, I'm going to get the background stamp set up. I'm using the Stamparatus for this. It is a huge stamp, the background stamps are, and so usually to make sure I have good coverage, I use the stamp positioning tool, the Stamparatus, and as you can tell, I used it a little recently, but my paper was still good, so I wanted to use it. So I'm just going to line it up. This actually comes with, we offer grid paper made specifically for this right here, that it fits in perfectly. You've got centimeters on one side, inches on another, so you can easily line up your stamps. And in this case, you can see I actually put a tiny little bit of the seal right here, and I like kind of unstikified it some so that I could make sure that my paper would come off. The reason why is because it comes with these magnets right here, but these magnets are going to be problematic if you're using a large background stamp like this one. So I am going to go ahead now and ink it up in Crumb Cake. If you don't have Crumb Cake ink, as long as you're going for a tone-on-tone look, you could even use Versamark ink and it would do a very similar look. Oop, see, look at that. I almost made that a bit of an oopsie. And then you just press it down and lift it up, and that actually looks really good. The benefit of using the Stamparatus though is that if I had seen that there were parts missing where the ink coverage wasn't great, I could have re-inked and then it would have been, it would have fixed those spots rather than trying to make, oh goodness, there we go. It would have tried to fix those spots rather than having to try to eyeball it while I am layering them on here. So let's go ahead, we can just adhere that straight to our card base using our Stampin' Seal. And the reason we can do that is actually because we are already at the, oh goodness, come on now. Where are you? This is a cheeky little thing. There we go. And then, all right, that'll be sufficient. And you can actually turn it this way or this way if you wish. I thought it looked a little bit better this way, so that's what I'm going with. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. So, put away my Crumb Cake ink so that I don't get covered in ink later. We can set this off to the side. Now I can grab my stitched die piece. I already die cut it just because since I made my sample, I already knew how easy this particular stamp is to line up. So I didn't feel compelled to ink up first and then die cut it, though if you wanted to have that as an option, you totally could. And let's see, moment of truth. Hey, that looks great. Fantastic. Oop, see, and look at that. Ink on my finger. I'm too eager. So let's go ahead and then now we'll let that dry for a second and then we'll adhere it to the background. So to make your daisies, I used the medium daisy punch. And I actually punched out, to make one daisy, I actually punched out 3 pieces. So you could make a daisy with 2, and here, let me just kind of give you an idea as to what that would look like. So 2 daisies, and I'll put it on top here, would look like that. So still lovely, but there's something about the look of the 3 daisy look, or 3 daisy pieces look that I thought was just kind of stunning. So I wanted to go with that. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm actually just using glue dots for this. They adhere really easily. Again, I'm using up my paper pumpkin leftovers. And so if you were to get a new sample of these glue dots, though, they come in a roll, so a little bit different, but still the same glue. So there's that. And so now when I'm talking about the centers, again, this little 1/2" punch is no longer current. However, there are a few things you could do. So if you have, say, a lot of masculine sets and if you have a lot of masculine sets and you have this Garage Gears stamp set, you could even use some of these gears as a center. Like, they're not too, I think, at least, I think that they could certainly be passable, and you could even trim down these little pieces here to make it more circular. Like, look at that one. That one looks kind of nice, right? A little different. This one here, right, you could even do that if you wanted. There's a piece that comes out, but if you saved it, you could even put it on the inside as well, right? So those are definitely some options for you there. If you have that set, you could also use the Poppy Moments dies. These dies right here come with this guy. Let's see if you can see that. So I actually took that and I chopped off the little edges that made it sort of spiky looking. And if you put that inside, you even get a little, the embossed look of those little polka dots there on the inside. It's a little bit small, but I still think that if that's the only one you have, that's definitely handy. And then I don't have it, oh, where's my catalog? I had it handy, I promise. Oh, there it is. Okay, and then I was looking through the dies of the catalog as well, and I noticed, let's see if I can look at these little buttons. I thought from the All Dressed Up set right here, these buttons would make for a really cool centerpiece for your daisies. I also thought right here, if you have the dinosaurs, these also get punched out, and you could pick the roundest of these options here and put them in there. You could even, like, your centers don't have to be circular. You could even put a something like a heart on the inside if you wish. There was one more I thought. Let me check here. Oh yeah, I also thought that these little flowers from the Gardening Gateway could be a cute addition. But, like, look, if you have these little hearts, you could totally do the little hearts. There's definitely a lot of options there in terms of what you can put at the center of these flowers. And I think that was, oh yeah, and then also these actually, I could always check this one. So the Magnolia Memory ones, these look like the centers would be bigger if you were to chop off the little ends all around it. So that could definitely be another one to look into. So if you don't have these little circle punches, you totally could make your own. So in my case, I've got it handy, and I figured I'll keep them all the same, though you are free to obviously take this card idea and run with it. And with that, I made these ahead of time. I've got my 3 daisies. Let's go ahead and adhere our sentiment. Again, we'll just use the seal. And I actually adhered my sentiment straight on with this backing here. I did not pop this up. I wanted my daisies to be the ones that were popped up, and so I did not pop up my sentiment, because I thought if everything was popped up it would be a little distracting. So you just place it wherever you'd like. As you can tell from mine, because I had 2 daisies on the bottom, 1 on the top, I technically made mine a little bit higher than middle, but pretty close. So that's about right. I do recommend you don't push it quite down until you know it's also centered in the center of your card, rather than going for it. So now I have a scrap of Mossy Meadow that I'm going to use to punch out these sprigs with the sprig punch. This is one of those like sort of leafy, easy to get some greenery on a card kind of a punch, and I love that about it. Sorry, there's a piece of a little scrap that got lost in there. Alright, so let's go ahead and punch those out. You just need, I punched out 3, 1 for each of my daisies. You could punch out more or less if you wish. That is a-okay. So notice I still have, I still have all that space. I could use something else for it. So there's that. Then I went ahead and I added glue dots to these little pieces here in order to get them to adhere to my daisies, and then I popped up my daisy. So I did not do my, I did not put the glue dot on my daisy. I put it, it was easier I think to position it if the glue dot was on the sprig. So let's go ahead and do that. So there's that. And it really doesn't matter where you put it, because once you go to adhere it to your card, you can kind of tweak it around if you want, or twirl your daisy to get it to fit where it won't go over the card. Alright, so now ready to adhere the daisies, and we are almost done. So we've got, actually I'll need that in a second. So now grab our sheet of dimensionals and just pop a dimensional right in the center of your daisy. Boop. And then I recommend, before you actually plop them off, that you kind of position them and see, okay, well, maybe I want it like this, and then this guy I could do like this, and this guy like that. That could be nice. Or let's see if I like that better. Actually, I kind of like that. Let's do that. So then you can go ahead and take out your backing for it. That way you capitalize on having a neat card. And then the only difference here with this card compared to the first one I showed you is that this card, if you receive it, I can write something in here, no problem. Everyone will be able to see what I've written. The problem is this card, not so much. So I do need in this card to add a matte layer here to put on the inside, so that when I write my sweet notes to whoever I'm sending this to, they will not only be able to read it, but they will be grateful for being able to read it, because they will have a nice white background for their text rather than something super dark. So let's go ahead, you just put that in there, and if I'd wanted to, I could have even stamped on this as well. You could have, if you were really adventurous, you could have done 2nd or 3rd generation stamping with the Birch background to have the background stamp be sort of really light on this piece to tie in the front to the back. There's a lot of options here. So tell me which one you think is kind of your favorite. I liked the original, but I feel like this one's got just a little bit more oomph, and it could be maybe the sentiment's darker, but I don't know. Let me know in the comments which you prefer, and go ahead and subscribe so that you can see more of my inspirational videos once I create them and post them and upload them. I am hoping here in the next, to start next week, to also include tip videos to the the card ideas as well. So you'll have videos dedicated to tips. I'm hoping to do at least one tip a week, so that way you guys can have some inspiration in terms of cards. But if you haven't tried certain techniques, I might give you some tips on those, or just tips in general. So if you have any questions or you need any of these supplies, the links will be below to my blog so that you can follow those directly to my store. And if you have any need of questions answered, please make sure to get in touch with me so that I can work on doing that for you. If you have any issues or you need help, please get in touch. If not, I'll see you later. Bye guys, see you in the next video.